Prospect by prospect, trade by trade, the A's are stacking the deck. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Boonie. One name, all passion, zero filter. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. We are stacking chips, building a dynasty, and making noise while the rest of the league sleeps on the Vegas future powerhouse. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. Whether you are riding with us from Sacramento, the Strip, or somewhere in between, you are part of the foundation of the A's next empire. And believe me, it's an empire. Let's build this monster together. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today. A lot going on in the last 24 hours if you have not heard. By now, you should have. The A's traded away Mason Miller and JP Sears to the San Diego Padres for Major League Baseball's number 3 prospect, switch hitting, shortstop, Leo De Vries. But that's not all. They got the Padres' number 3 prospect in right-handed pitcher Brandon Nett, the 13th ranked prospect in the Padres organization, right-handed pitcher Henry Baez, and the number 17th ranked prospect in the Padres organization, right-handed pitcher who you should see tonight, Eduarniel Nuñez. They also traded away. I'm sad to see this guy go, Miguel Andújar, to the Cincinnati Reds and receive the Reds' number 22 prospect, right-handed pitcher, Kenya Huggins. If you are a new fan to the A's franchise, whether you are in Sacramento or you are in Vegas or you're just a fan, you are enticed or intrigued somewhat by this wild organization and want to be a fan, and you have heard all the noise going on around the Bay Area and the news with regard to this trade, you're going to want to stick around till the end. I got a message for you. Because we are building a dynasty, and I'm going to break that down for you a little bit later. On top of that, the negativity, like I said, from the Bay Area about the same old A's trading away great players. Like I said, stick around at the end. I got a message for you. Mason Miller is no question one of the most electric closers there is in the game today. No question about it. He's under team control until 2031, which is a huge deal. And he will no doubt make the San Diego Padres a better team and a real contender for a world championship. But I'm going to tell you exactly why this was the right trade. I'm going to tell you exactly why this was a no-brainer. I mentioned this yesterday. Closers flash hot and they fade fast. History has told us that the lifespan of a closer does not last long. And for a full day, I've done some research on it. And I'll talk about that after I tell you, like I said, why this trade was an absolute no-brainer. You can't flex a dominant closer if you never give him the ball. You need starting pitching. You need middle relief. You need a lineup that can put up runs. Otherwise, Mason Miller is just a luxury sports car stuck in traffic. What the A's got in return. Check out what the A's got in return, fellas. And check out what it is similar to. Chris Sale, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. Chris Sale, at the time he was traded in 2016 from the White Sox to the Red Sox. He was an ace starter, left-handed pitcher. He had 3 years of control at the time of the trade. The White Sox got the number 1 prospect in all of baseball and the number 30 prospect in all of baseball. The Nationals, when they dealt Juan Soto to the Padres, at the time, Juan Soto was a 23-year-old superstar, 2.5 years of control. They also got Josh Bell, a veteran power bat rental. And the Nationals, what they got in return? Number 9 and number 21 prospects in all of baseball, and 2 other prospects in the Padres organization. Or you could look at the trade in 2021 when the Twins traded Jose Berrios to the Blue Jays for the number 16 prospect in all of baseball. At that time, Jose Berrios was an all-star starting pitcher with 1.5 years of team control left. Mason Miller, we're talking about a relief pitcher. We're talking about a relief pitcher, guys. What do you got? Robert, same old flipping of pillars. I do think it's a trade, but bottom line, you need to keep the players at the same time. Based on what, Robert? Based on what? Based on a reliever that you're not using? Give me some facts. Give me some logic behind your statement. Give me a history of where closers have done well over the year. How this trade doesn't make sense. Why you would not make this trade 100 times out of 100. I want to hear some reasoning on why. Now, you could be, we could be all wrong about it. This trade could be an absolute bust. We don't know that. Leo De Vries could do nothing. The 3 relievers, the other guys we got in return, the other pitchers we got in return could be awful. And Mason Miller could go on to have a Hall of Fame career. That could all happen. But as far as today, based on history, not your hatred of Oakland, not your hatred of the ownership, not the hatred of Fisher, this trade makes sense 100 times out of 100. Check out these numbers, guys. Check out these numbers. In 2024, Mason Miller had an ERA of 2.49, 8th out of all closers out of 25. This year, 3.76 ERA, ranks 20 out of 25 closers. Sure, he's had a couple bad outings, but the numbers remain the numbers. In 2025, out of 25 save leaders in Major League Baseball this year, Miller ranks 22 out of 25 in appearances. Last year, he ranked 20 out of 25 in appearances. We don't use the guy. Innings pitched. He ranks 24 of 25 in innings pitched this year for relievers. Last year, he was 7th. Statistically speaking, you have a player that has deteriorated in innings pitched, appearances, in earned run average over the past year. Now, here, the big complaint, including me, is make Mason Miller a starter. Next year, we're going to see Mason. You know what's crazy about that comment, Master Ball? All we hear of that comment is from insiders that don't know a whole lot. We've never heard that from an organization. We've never heard that from the Padres. We've never heard it from the A's. All we hear is from insiders, like myself, that don't know a whole lot of make Mason Miller a starter. And I've looked into it for the last 24 hours. I've said, why can't we make Mason Miller a starter? It makes 0 sense. Make Mason Miller a starter. I was like you, Master Ball, just throwing out ideas based on 0. Make Mason Miller a starter. All the insiders said so, even though we've never heard one thing from an organization with regard to being a starter. Mason Miller was not going to be a starter for the A's. Mason Miller will not be a starter for the Padres. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you are sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, This one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. The craziest time I ever had on a golf course was when I hit a hole-in-one that ricocheted off a tree and went directly into the hole. True story. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. Of course, the grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is valid until September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotion. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you are meeting up friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. All right, guys, let's talk about Mason Miller as a starter. Hey, listen, and I'm not trying to get on you guys about it. I've been the same way. I've been the exact same way as every other comment and every other insider out there. Let's just make Mason Miller a starter. And I've thrown that out there. Here's the deal. What I did forget, and what I did forget to mention during the process and look up while I'm spewing out just words, is Mason Miller has had injuries. He has been hurt, man. In May 2023, just weeks into his debut, Miller was sidelined by elbow trouble. He exited with a forearm tightness, raising immediate fears of a serious injury. The diagnosis was a sprained UCL in his right elbow. For any pitcher, especially a hard thrower like Miller, UCL injuries rings alarm bells, as that's the ligament reconstructed in Tommy John. Now, he avoided surgery in that situation in 2023, and for about 4 months, Miller worked his way back. In September 2023, he finally made it back to the major league mound, this time in a relief role. He threw 2 perfect innings, 3 strikeouts in his first game back, still firing 100 mph lasers as he mowed down hitters. By the end of 2023, the pattern in Miller's career was hard to ignore. In 2 years since his first pro game, Miller had logged only 66 2/3 innings as a pro. 66 2/3 inning as a pro. In 2023 season total between the majors and minors, 52 2/3 innings. That was a career high for him, guys. The very fact that 50 innings was a new personal best underscores the injury after injury has capped his workload. Now, when you are trying to become a starting pitcher, it usually involves increasing innings gradually. You have to build stamina, but his injuries never allowed that progression. Instead, each year brought a hard reset. Shoulder injury erased 2022. Elbow sprain hurt 2023. And as one analyst put it that I was reading about, from 2021 to 2023, Miller's arm was a ticking time bomb. The A's at that point were faced with a dilemma. How do you turn someone into a rotation workhorse when he's never thrown 70 innings in a year? In late July 2024, Miller fractured the pinky finger on his glove hand. That had nothing to do with his arm, more of a temper tantrum outburst at one of his outings, but he was sidelined. Developing Miller into a starting pitching is so darn hard. Typically, a young starter might go from, let's say, 50 innings one year to 100 plus the next, and so on. You got to build endurance. Miller has never had that luxury. Each time he starts to build momentum, an injury intervenes. Let's look at other guys, right? By end of 2023, he was 25 years old with 70 professional innings under his belt at all levels, man. And now you want to push him to 100 plus innings as a starter after he'd only thrown 52 2/3 innings? They wanted to keep Miller healthy. And that's why he was consistently in the bullpen. They could not stretch him out. And Miller's story is not isolated, right? This isn't one thing out of nowhere. When you're talking about fireballers like Mason Miller, you have to look at a recent Sports Illustrated article that I recently read. From 2019 to 2023, there were 21 Major League Baseball starting pitchers who averaged 96.5 on their fastball. 18 of those 21 broke down with major injuries. Steven Strasburg, you guys remember him? Noah Syndergaard. Luis Severino of the Yankees led all starters in fastball velocities, upper 90s in 2017. He was an all-star. Then he suffered a serious rotator cuff and lat injury, followed by Tommy John surgery in 2020. Jacob deGrom. The Rangers did everything in their power to watch this kid step by step. And still that couldn't cut it. He blew out his elbow and he underwent a second Tommy John surgery before coming back. The Toronto Blue Jays' Nate Pearson was a top prospect famed for 101-mile-per-hour fastballs. Same type of deal. By age 26, Pearson had thrown just over 40 innings in the majors. I mean, it's over and over and over. You want to go back even further? Kerry Wood of the Chicago Cubs. Power pitchers walk a razor's edge between stardom and the surgeon's table, man. I'm not saying Mason Miller is going to get hurt, nor do I want him to get hurt. But the idea of pushing him as a starter, whether in Sacramento, whether in Oakland, whether in San Diego, is not viable. It doesn't make sense. San Diego won't do it. The A's won't do it. We know what Mason Miller is when he is healthy. I'm not here to say, hey, make this trade because Miller will get hurt. But there's no question when you evaluate the trade as a whole, you have to put and you have to consider that in your equation in order to determine if it makes sense. In other words, Mason Miller as a starter was not going to happen. Not as an A, not as a Padre. So we basically get some of the best prospects in baseball for a relief pitcher. And speaking of relief pitchers, I'm going to talk to you about the lifespan of relief pitchers. What do you guys got? 2028 World Series champs in the works. I sure hope so, Richie. It's sure shaping out that way. Hope to see Morales in the game tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they start working Morales as a closer. Boonie, happy Friday to you too. Drew as well. Interesting trade line to say the worst. To say the least. Turns out 2-homer game was quite the audition for Andújar. I'm bummed to see Andújar go. As much as I like this trade, it still stings. The A's got the best package this trade line. Yeah. Hard to complain about the deal in terms of team timeline, but I wish we could have sold Sears when his pitching was a little better. Could have seen his own deal. Sevy trade this offseason. I'm with you on Sears. I like Sears a lot. I think he's a hell of a back-end rotation piece for any team. I think his best pitching, we still have not seen it. We've seen signs how good Sears can be. You know, it's tough. With regard to Severino, same type of deal, Mark. I mean, $44 million for 2 years with what you know Sevy's going to be. They didn't even come close to coming to those type of terms in the offseason going into this year. Now, when you see what he can be, a year older, now you're going to give him the $44 million? I hope so. I just don't think so. The Yankees should have grabbed him instead of Camilo Doval. I'm going to talk about a closer a little bit. Let me ask you this, guys. When was Camilo Doval's value higher? When he was an all-star for San Francisco? Didn't he have the same type of ring that Mason Miller has today? The only problem with you're right, Vegas. This trade could be a 1,000% bust. You're right. Prospects is exactly what prospects are. Let's not get things fooled by here, guys. Prospects are what we think the player can be. They haven't proven themselves at all. We've seen plenty of prospects that have gone bust. No question. Prospects is who we think players can be. And this trade makes 1,000% sense for the Padres. In essence, that's what you do. You trade prospects for proven major leaguers. I 1,000% agree with that. Prospects are just prospects. The Padres made exactly the right trade. And I hope the A's are in a position as well in 2028 when we're chasing world championships, we do the same. I hope we do that. But right now, when you're barely using a guy because you don't have a good enough team to put you in the lead, what good is a darn prospect? Excuse me. What good is a high leverage electric closer like Mason Miller? In hindsight, even though Mason Miller is electric, what team is offering 3 prospects in baseball for a closer? You can't pass that up. 4 prospect, the number 3 prospect, and 3 prospect. When I come back, I am going to talk about the lifeline of a closer. You're going to be shocked at what I found out, the numbers I researched when looking at looking at closers since the year 2000. I'll see you in a minute. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Game Day Hue, and so is this hat I am wearing. For A's fans like me, this one hits the mark. Game Day Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it on the course. It's subtle, stylish, and I can still rep my team. The hat pairs perfectly with my usual gear. It doesn't replace my team's logo stuff. It just adds to the lineup. I've worn mine at tailgates, tea times, and just out running errands. And I always get compliments. It's the kind of hat that reps your team without screaming it. Subtle, but still says everything. And it's just not the hats. Check out their split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. Check this out, guys. Since the year 2000, there has been a total of 229 closers in Major League Baseball. Now, what I define as a closer is an individual who has had at least 20 saves for a team. In other words, you have 18 saves or whatever it may be. I don't consider you a closer. If you have 20 saves for a team, I consider you a closer. 229 closers since the year 2000. If Miller was to stay with the A's through 2028, that would be 5 years in an A's uniform, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 years. That's just through 2028. Can you guess? I'm going to give you guys a shot here. Guess how many closers have had 5 consecutive years with the same team with 20 plus saves? Just take a guess. Take a crack at it. There's been 229 closers. 5 consecutive, because that's what we're asking Mason Miller to do. That's what we're saying he is. We're saying that he can be a closer for the A's in 2028 and part of a championship roster as our go-to guy. That's what all the complaint is with regard to trading him. And this is why this trade makes so much sense. Okay. Yeah. Rivera with the Yankees. You got that. He's a Hall of Famer too. There has been, guys, here it is. Since 2000, there has been 10 total closers who has stayed with one team for 5 years and has been their closer. Trevor Hoffman with the Padres, Mariano Rivera, Jason Isringhausen with the Cardinals, Troy Percival with the Angels, Joe Nathan with the Twins, Bobby Jenks with the White Sox, Papelbon with the Red Sox, Chapman with the Yankees, Kenley Jansen with the Dodgers, and Emmanuel Clase with the Guardians. That is it. That is it. In 24 years, 10 closers. That's 4%. 4% of the time that's happened. Look at some of the closers that have had unbelievable seasons and look at their value now. I talked a little bit earlier about Camilo Doval and the seasons he had to start with the Giants. The buzz around Camilo Doval and what he did with the Giants, 27 saves in 2021. I believe that's when he was an all-star. 39 saves in 2022. Sounds familiar? All-star, 27 and 39 saves. And 23 saves in 2022, I believe it was. Camilo Doval got dealt yesterday to the Yankees, I believe, for their 20th, 22nd, and 25th ranked prospects. And a couple other players that weren't on their prospect list, minor league players. How has his stock fallen? Ex-A's. Isringhausen. Isringhausen, that's the only one. In Isringhausen, listen, I mean, the A's have done well with regard to closers. Let's be honest. The A's have done quite fine with closers, from Houston Street to Isringhausen to Trinan they had for a year. Doolittle they had. Andrew Bailey. I mean, we can go on and on with regard to the closers the A's have had over the years and what they've done with them. The bottom line, you guys remember Jim Johnson? You guys remember Jim Johnson? How'd that work out for the A's? He had 51 saves and 50 saves in back-to-back years for the Orioles. I believe the A's signed him. He couldn't get an out. Basically Hall of Fame guys. Giants had same problem with Doval and their crap offense. I root for the players and coaches. I do not root for the owner. I tell you two things. It's an interesting point you brought up, Green Hornet. There's two things in sports that we make too much of, whether it's the media or ourselves as fans. Coaches and owners are given way too much credit and are given way too much blame. And you're right. I don't care about the owner, guys. Let's see. What do you got here, Master? Padres are taking a risk, but I don't think they gave up that much. I mean, I don't think they gave up. I think that if you have a World Series in sight, Master, you go for it. I think they made the right move. And I think they are taking the same type of path and vision. And they remembered how the Dodgers beat them last year. How did the Dodgers beat the Padres? How did the Dodgers win the World Series? How many bullpen games did they throw? Would they go a starter 4 or 5 innings? And they just worked the hell out of that bullpen. That's how they won. And I think they're taking the same model. I'm old enough to remember when the Red Sox tried to make Papelbon a starter and the Red Sox would chat. They don't make them like Smoltz anymore. Same thing with Smoltz, though, right? Smoltz went from starter to reliever. I don't remember the last guy that's gone from reliever to starter. Someone maybe could help me out. Dennis Eckersley, starter to reliever. I don't remember the last guy that's gone from reliever to starter. Help me out if I'm wrong on that. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. It feels like the A's are betting on. I don't think so, Dylan. I think it's more of a situation where if the A's were in contention or they're contending next year, yes, we keep Miller. But why do we keep a high leverage one of the top closers in the game for somebody you're not using? It was never made sense. Anthony, yes, was Miller projected in the minors to be? Yes, he started off as a starting pitcher and then he got hit by injuries. Then they had to watch his innings, right? They only wanted to throw him in bursts because of the 2 injuries he did have. Then they said, hey, if we're going to throw him in bursts, let's just make him a starter. Dave Stewart, was he relieved as starter? Okay. That's how the Astros won the World Series, maybe 4 to 5. Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. But the A's have done well with relievers over the years. Point is when you can get a package that is equal to a Juan Soto, a Chris Sale, for a relief pitcher, wow. Sure, if Mason Miller becomes a starter, the conversation changes. I don't see Mason Miller becoming a starter based on data, right? Who knows? Maybe next year he's a starter and is a Cy Young. It could happen. Every year, there are 10 closer jobs, 10 and a half closer jobs by statistics that go to somebody else on average based on the last 25 years. Actually, 24. I'm not counting 2020. I mean, Jacob, the GOAT reliever. I'm talking about closers, but yeah, okay. Fair enough. Jacob Lopez. Okay. Guys, here's a message for everybody who's a new A's fan, man. I've heard the complaints with regard. I've lived it. What am I talking about? About the A's. Hey, and we had an individual earlier on today saying, the A's always do this. The A's always do this. They're always selling their players. They don't want to pay anybody. It stinks. You know, I could never get used to having the same old player. And it's true. They have. But you know what, guys? So is a whole lot of other teams, man. You have to look at every single deal for themselves. What I do know is this. 2022 to 2000 through this year has been rough. They're rebuilding. I mean, the Angels haven't been 500 in 12 years. A lot of teams go through this. But the A's have won. Let's make no mistake of it. They have won. They're one of the most winningest franchises in the history of baseball. No matter what decade you're talking about, what year you're talking about, they have won. And they have won at an exquisite pace. 11 playoff appearances from 2000, since 2000. Tied for 7th in all of baseball. 9 world championships in their history. 4 in Oakland. The 80s, they were that close to be, late 80s, early 90s, that close to being a dynasty. The A's have won. And as a fan, that's all I care about. As far as them not re-signing players and saying that, hey, they needed to sign somebody to get over the edge in the playoffs, that's a bunch of BS. Who are you going to give up And who are you going to sign that's going to hit Verlander in October? Who are you going to get to overcome the craziness in the 2014 wild card game against the Royals, who ended up losing in the World Series that year? It's been heartbreaking the postseason for the A's, but they have won. And as far as re-signing free agents, I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm going to leave you guys with these questions. Is Freddie Freeman still an Atlanta Brave? Is Manny still an Oriole? Is Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, are they still Tigers? Is Mookie a Red Sox? Is Chris Sale a White Sox? Is Francisco Lindor a Guardian? Is Nolan Arenado a Rocky? Did Zach Greinke stay a Royal? Is an Ohtani an Angel? Is Giovanni Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, or whatever he was at the time, a Marlin? Did Mark Teixeira stay with the Rangers? And is Bryson Juan still Nationals? Or is Juan a Padre? This is sports, guys. It happens all around us. At the end of the day, what you want from your team is one thing. Do they compete? Do they win? Are they fun? And I can answer that unequivocally for the A's. Yes. There is no question about it. So if you're teeter-tottering based on the negative attention and the negative theme and story you get from the Bay Area media with regard to the A's and the organization they are because they hate the owner, don't. It's just a bunch of BS. Now, I can go through every single move as far as Matt Chapman to Matt Olson to Marcus Semien on why the A's didn't sign, who they signed with, and the story behind it. That's probably for a show for the offseason, but we'll get to that. The Mason era, Miller era, not so much fun. Ended yesterday. Welcome to Leo De Vries. Let's go. 100%. Brody Brazil's videos, yeah. They're rough. I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Brody Brazil in one sentence is he loves the trade, but it's the same storyline with the A's. Well, what do you mean, Brody? What do you mean the same storyline with the A's? They've won? I thought you covered this team, guy. I thought you covered this team. Yeah, they've lost free agents. Yeah, there's some I'm pissed off they didn't re-sign. But they've won, man. They have won at the same level as baseball's best. Could we do better? For sure. Do I have my complaints about ownership? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we have won at historic levels. And this is one of the most exciting franchises in baseball. And going forward, yeah, we are building a dynasty, chip by chip, brick by brick. We're looking at an infield of Nick Kurtz, of Leo De Vries, of Jacob Wilson. As far as them, second base, shortstop, it doesn't matter. I mean, look at Xander Bogaerts with the Padres right now. Just went from shortstop to second base. I mean, that transition's easy. You got Max Muncy at potentially third base, Shea Langoliers. You got an outfield of Tyler Soderstrom, Denzel Clark, Lawrence Butler. You got Brett Rooker. A dynasty is on its way. And they're doing it in the right way. They're building the right way. I appreciate you guys, man. And I will be here for postgame. I hope to see you following the game. But hey, if you are a new fan or from Vegas, Sacramento, stick around, man. This team's doing it the right way. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.